Yeah, so I'm Sarah, and I run Bread2Share, which is a community interest company. And we formally set up in 2013. So we've been probably building this for about 4 years now, starting very small and just building our client base, building the groups of people we work with. We were set up to work within the disability sector. So that was our main role, was to take bread making into the community, very simple bread making, and to work on a really sensory level. So it's not really, really fancy bread making, but it's bread making that really anybody is going to be able to do. Because bread has this, bread does like a lot of time, doesn't it? And, we can use that. We can really use that to our advantage, but we try and do things in a simple way. And we try to make bread that people can, we use a lot of basil, say, and parsley. So we try and really expand what people are thinking about, what they use, so that they could grow their own parsley, couldn't they, and then use that at home. So there's me, and then we have Lucy, who's, she comes and works with me as well. She's a workshop assistant. And then I've got two of my clan here as well. I've got Amy, who's one of our workshop facilitators, and Katie, who's the director. And she keeps me like this, or she's meant to. And we've got Ruth, who's another director. She's not here today. So I'm based in Stourbridge, but we work in the Dudley Borough. So that's our remit, really. But we could go and work anywhere. We don't have a base as such yet, but we just fill the car up with our equipment and we take it to all the places we work. And that just really helps people. I think people who need to know where they start from, they're familiar, they can stay in their place and we can go and work with them there. So we've got a few slides to show you some of our clients. I don't know how much you can see. So we work across special schools and schools. This is a lovely group we work with, and the families and the children work together. We go in there quite regularly. In another school we go in and do a baking club, a monthly baking club, where we go and work with the families and their kids who are with profound and multiple learning disabilities. So that's just a lovely event. It's very well received, which is nice. So what we really adore is the idea about bread that it's inclusive, and it recognises difference in a really nice way. I think that's what the world really does need right now, that we are very international and that we are very inclusive. So that's the thing we have with Bread2Share, is that anybody who comes and wants to work with us, then they will. So if we've already got a full room and someone else turns up, we have to always have that policy that anyone can come and join us. So it's a good one. It works. So these are some of my cheesy photos. And you get an idea of just what we're doing, making really lovely bread. So my background is in fine art. So that's my education. Anything I do will come with that sort of knowledge around it. So I tend to think of us as an arts organisation rather than a food organisation. And I think there's a real difference. So the thing that I'm always very certain of that we need to work with is the process. And bread offers itself really well to looking at creative process and how people can engage their imagination. And it's not just a pictorial imagination we're talking about, it's a physical imagination, so it's an imagination of the body. So the more people are engaged with material and touch and feel and the way things move, the way flour sounds as it falls into a bowl, this engages the body in a really good way. And I suppose because of the clients we work with, we've got a lot of disabled people, It's a very good method of making connection and getting, once people's imaginations are engaged, it can really relocate them in how they see themselves. So we also, it's that idea of offering someone a slightly different lens to look through. Not just themselves, but also the world. So it can really relocate people in their environment, I think. And you can see with these pictures, it's really pulling people together. Really pulls people together to work together, to share things together. And you might not know the baker beside you when you start, but you certainly will have a good idea of who they are at the end, just in terms of how they will support you. So, this is Wendy making her bread. So we've come to our workshops, with a lot of that in mind, and we make sure we choose all our equipment very, very carefully, so that each stage of this process that we're dealing with, we can really elongate it. And what I really love when we start working with people is that they usually come in saying, I made bread once and it was just dreadful and I've never done it again and it's, I can't bake. So already we have just no, they've set themselves up, this is just a hopeless thing. And I don't know if we teach people how to bake actually, I'm not really sure if that's what we do, but what we do is enable people to go away thinking, well, okay, it didn't work so well, so that's not really the end point, then I just start again and I just try and make it again. And it's a really nice tool to really help people take away, I think. The idea that your bread will be different to the next person's bread, and that's how it should be. And also your hands have a different temperature, your room that you bake in has a different temperature. Your life is different in every single way to the next person next to you. However, we have a common thread going through that we just have to keep a process going. And this seems to work very well if you're going to start talking about well-being, and if you want to start talking about community. There are things that you can't even start to think about until you've created a space for people that is a good space to start with. And I think, so just going back to our equipment, we try and make this space, make a lovely space that people want to come back to. And I remember going to a talk by someone from The Big Issue. It wasn't John Bird, the other guy, I can't remember his name. But he said, all these evaluations, and all these outcomes, he said the only outcome you need to worry about is if somebody wants to come back. And I think, and that's really stuck with me, and I always feel like I'm completely blessed if somebody ever wants to come back to our workshops, really. That must be a good sign, isn't it? So, so where am I? So this space, so Bread2Share, its seeds were sown working in a Camp Hill community. So that's assisted living for adults with learning disabilities. It's an international organisation. And we used to come twice weekly to do these, to make bread together, and we'd sell the bread onto the community. And what was really evident was that it was 2 points in the week, like drop-down points, where people could arrive. They wouldn't have to worry about anything else. Nothing else mattered in those 2 sessions apart from the bread they were making. So I think making sure this space is a very safe one, and making sure that it's a place where people can return is actually fundamental in trying to work with people's well-being. So it's really important to me, that one. And I think that return, the act of returning to something, is very hopeful, isn't it? And it really builds resilience in people. So even if they don't come back the first time, the next week, they might have just had a bad week, then they come back. They know it's there. So it's one of the things we really want to work on is to have regular baking clubs. And we have them already in the special school that we work in. And it's a monthly one, and people return on a monthly basis. And that's really a thing that I'm wanting to develop very much. And we've had a lot of interest in that, and it's just how how you can sustain these things, how we can keep sustainable. So I've got a few other pictures. If you downstairs, you might see Simon from Realise Films, and he made this lovely film for us. We've just got some stills from it. But what it really catches is something about a mood that one's trying to create, or a tone that one's trying to create when you're in a workshop setting. And it's a kind of conversation, isn't it? It's a conversation in a room that doesn't really require words always. It's about coming together, figuring out how this rather magical thing happens from just basic ingredients through to this transformed product at the end. So this was a young adult group we had. And I always find young adults just adore hearts. They just, everything is about, I'll just do a heart or I'll draw a heart. And this is Tallulah's bread in the middle. And when it baked, the bread rose and the heart kind of lifted off the top, kind of popped off the top, and she just, she was thrilled. She was really thrilled. So a lot of fun. It should be a lot of fun, what we do. And it should just really warm people up. And that was a very mad day of making plaited bread, which kind of you start on the table and then you get to here, and then it kind of keeps going and keeps going. And it was, maybe it should have been 3 loaves, that one in the middle, but hey, why not? So another still from the picture. And yeah, how does one build rhythm into one's life? How do you find rhythm? How do you find belonging? I suppose these are all the questions that we're always trying to answer. And it could be bread making, but you could also think of, there are so many, aren't there? So many activities that you can do. And I just so happen to think bread making is the one that you can engage people with. So my art practice is drawing and sculpture, but I think going into some of the units that we go into, the transferable skill of doing bread making is going to feed you, isn't it? It's going to feed your neighbour. And drawing doesn't have quite the same thing going on. So it was all about that touch. So there's a lovely bit in the film with a woman who, I don't really know what's going on with her, but she came to 6 weekly workshops, and she was exhausted, this woman, just exhausted. And she would come and sit and literally just lay her hand on her dough and always go away just terribly relaxed and happy and just pleased to have been in this, to have this occasion happen. And it's a real thing of teaching people, or not making people think. I do like to think that I make people think, but I don't. It's about care, isn't it? And there's something about, I've witnessed people touching their dough, that somehow feeds back into themselves. And they have, there's a little bit more self-care going on. So that's my minute. I've just been given a minute. So.
We have got time for questions before lunch. Having just seen the lunch.
You've talked a lot about dough. Do you see potential in any other material for some of the qualities in terms of that engagement?
Yeah, I mean, I always think this is sculpture. You know, bread making is like making sculpture, and a lot of people often say, oh, this is like, yeah, it's dough, it's plasticine, isn't it? It's like, you know, if you can create a little object. Everything you make is a reflection of who you are, isn't it? So that's what I love about this, is that everybody's bread looks different and it's them. But I think if there's a transformative quality about something, like knitting is good, isn't it? Knitting's got all those haptics, got all those qualities of touch and engagement and colour, you know, it just grows, and it's a good one. What do you think?
I think, I suppose I should have asked further, just in terms of other food stuff that...
Oh, food.
Yeah, if you've ever worked with anything else, just intrigued.
No, not with food. I mean, Amy's my food lady. She's the one who teaches me about food and what foods there are.
If anybody's ever made cheese,
Cheese, yeah, yeah.
actually making the cheese ball, and it almost has a purer, you know.
Well, there's a real magic moment when there's a separation between, and sort of, I think that's highly sort of powerful.
Yeah.
In the same way that sort of you talk about bread.
Yeah. No, I'm really interested. Yeah, I'm really interested in how that can be explored with people. And I think coming from the Camp Hill background, Camp Hill, you know, has bread making, farming, food production very much as its core daily activities for people. So I think, yeah, it's all really worthwhile. Yeah.
Any other questions? Anyone else? Well, we'll have opportunity.
Oh, come and make dough.
We'll obviously have opportunity at 2 o'clock to
Yeah.
talk.
Just a quick one about funding, really.
Funding. Yeah, we do. We were really, really fortunate at the very beginning to get startup grants from Dudley Council, and also we're engaged with Unlimited, who have very good, they gave us 2 lots of funding, so a startup and then a do it. It was a do it. We got the Awards for All funding last year, and that enabled us to do 30 workshops in 5 different venues. So yeah, and there are different grants in Dudley with mental health grants that we've had, but we're really trying to look at sustainability now. It's a real core thing we have to address, and we're sort of wanting to have, you know, run workshops that are bookable ones that people can just come and do and kids can do, not just the ones that we do in the out in the community, really. Yeah. Yeah, so I'm paid. Yeah. And we have a little bank of volunteers who come and support, and then we have people who are paid. Yeah. So it's trying to get that balance, really. I couldn't run it if I wasn't. It's a big job. Yeah.
Anyone else make a long walk for lunch? Anyone else? No? Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.